I think people make a much bigger deal out of it than it is. But happiness is it lies within your ability to create. So you can't blame somebody else or a situation or an institution for why you're not happy, because you get to create your own happiness. So, we could ask, like, what makes you happy? How do you create happiness in your life?
Welcome to the Daniele Hage Podcast. I'm your host, Daniele Hage. Daniele is my mother-in-law and Nini to my 3 girls. She is pastor, speaker, and founder of Dynamic Traits. She's been married for over 44 years to Steve Hage, who travels the world preaching the gospel, and together they pastor church in Laguna Niguel, California. So welcome back, Daniele.
Thanks.
So glad to be here with you today.
Great to be here.
And we are going to talk about, you're going to share with us habits of happy people.
Yes.
Yeah, so let's dive right in because we all want to be happy for the new year.
Yes, we do. Yes, and this is really all based on just, emotional intelligence. Basically, this is about what people commonly do or not do that are happy people. So, first of all, we have to understand that happiness is not out there. It's not something we go looking for. We're going to look for our happiness, or once I do this, then I'll be happy. Happiness is an internal state of being, an internal state of mind, okay? And here's the thing. It's very simple, but I think people make a much bigger deal out of it than it is. But happiness it lies within your ability to create. So you can't blame somebody else or a situation or an institution for why you're not happy, because you get to create your own happiness. So, we could ask, like, what makes you happy? How do you create happiness in your life?
Right.
Are there certain things that you do that you just know, when I do this, I'm always filled with joy or sparked?
Oh, I mean, I think there's lots of things like, being with my kids, watching them thrive, watching them participate in their activities. For me personally, working out, being outdoors, being active. We have a plaque or, a hanging at the entryway of our home that says, create the life you love.
Yeah.
Because do you find that most people, like, this teaching is kind of an aha moment for them? That people are in this culture are in the pursuit of happiness, and it does have so much to do with external factors. And because we are in such a consumer driven economy, it's always like, well, if I have this, I'll be happy. And if I live in this home, I'll be happy. And if I can attend that school, I'll be happy.
Yeah.
And if I can have, do this, I'll be happy.
Right. Yeah. And I think, it depends. Your happiness comes from who you're watching, because Hollywood has a recipe for happiness, and all the movies that come out say this is what is going to make you happy. And if you're just aligning yourself with Hollywood and humanism and the world without God being involved, there's a certain way that they say you're going to be happy, and it's basically based on more of everything. Yeah. You need more people in your life, more power, more prestige, more just more of everything is going to make you happy. And we all know sometimes less is more. Yeah. I mean, I know of people that have had lots of stuff, lots of material things, and then lost it all. And they say they're so much more stress-free now that they don't have all the stuff and all the bills, because you have to maintain all that stuff. And they actually don't wake up at night in a panic of losing it, because they find more joy just not having as much. So we're going to kind of go through the 9 habits that people have in common, that these are the things that they incorporate daily in their lives, okay? So the first one is not obsessing over things that you can't control. And how many of us do that?
Yeah.
We worry,
especially with social media.
Yes. Sometimes we can't sleep at night because we are worrying about things that are completely out of our control. That's expending a lot of energy for what? Yeah.
Think
it's
about,
not gonna change anything.
We just came out of an election season and how unhinged people got based on things that are not in their immediate control. Right. Now, obviously, we have rights and freedoms to do what we need to do, but unhinged. I couldn't believe just even some of the common acquaintances that I have, the difference, in that season and how everybody treated one another.
And isn't it interesting? I mean, the hatefulness that comes out of some people because they didn't get their candidate or the one they voted for, and the hatred that is being spread because they didn't get their way.
Yeah.
It seems so childish, so immature. Like, you don't have that much control. You cast your vote, but this is called democracy, and everybody gets to vote, and you have to accept things that you can't control.
So what about, even just
miserable.
things that we can't control, just events in our life that happen that we really can't control? How do happy people keep that under control?
Well, I've always been taught and have always taught that events are neutral, but it's how we interpret the event. It's not about what happens. It's about how you think and how you interpret what happened. And you can look at life as life is happening to me or life is happening for me. And it's all about your perspective. It's all about the attitude of how you choose to look at the things that happen. Again, because some things happen that are out of our control, and then we have to live with that. And we can make the best of it or the worst of it, but that's your choice. You get to decide that.
I think because we live in a society and everything's so close at our fingertips with social media that we have to really focus on the things we can control.
Yes.
And the things that we can touch every day. And like you said, simplify and find happiness in those little daily things.
Right.
In those smaller moments that are in our own environment.
Right. And I think then also that's where faith comes in, because the things that we can't control, that's where we have to believe that, you know what, there's a higher power up there and he's in charge, and he is at the end of the day, he is in control, and I trust that. I trust his control. So, and for me, that brings me peace. It makes me sit back and go, I don't have to control everything.
Yeah.
I don't have to. So that makes me feel safe and at peace.
Yeah, that's good.
Another habit, something else, number 2, is people that they believe that the best is yet to come.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're not just wallowing in whatever is wrong, but they have the hope and the faith that every morning when they get out of bed, they're believing that there's good in store for them. They have that positive outlook, that positive attitude. Again, it comes back to your attitude. And that's what you do have control over. Like, some people will say, well, I just can't help it. I'm just so bummed out. Or you get to choose. Like, feelings can come, but you don't have to attach to your feelings because you're sad or depressed or angry. You don't have to attach and buy into it and believe it and it become part of your belief system. You can just say, you know what? I have a feeling. Guess what? It's probably going to change in about 5 minutes. It's probably going to change tomorrow. Feelings come and go. They're in and out. They're up and down. Yeah. But you don't have to believe every thought that comes into your head. Yeah. And because the thoughts are what causes the feelings. So we have to, that's why the Word of God says that we are to take captive every thought and line it up with the Word of God. Again, that is another way to find peace and to find joy. Is this thought coming from the enemy? We have an enemy, a common enemy in this world, small g God, or is it coming from big G God? Okay? Because sometimes we don't have control over our thoughts. They come in, and then what we do have control over is, does that thought get to stay? Am I going to dwell on it, or does it have to go? Do I kick it out? Do I take it captive and align it with the Word of God? If it does not align, then it has to go. It really is just that simple. Yeah. But it does, you have to create a discipline to take control of your thoughts, to take them captive.
We talk a lot about, too, in our home that we believe the best is yet to come, but we also believe the best in others.
That's
good. We always believe the best first. So about a situation or about a person, if something happens, we've got to look at it and examine what is the possible story, the truth of the story, the best of the story. And let's believe that first before we have other evidence to tell us otherwise. I love, too, that you had a podcast, I think this summer, with Steve, your husband, and he talked about how feelings were a toddler. And you don't let them drive the car. You don't let them drive your full emotional state and what you're going to do and how you're going to react to situations. You put them in the back in a car seat. You've got to feel them. You've got to deal with them, but they don't get to drive.
That's right.
What you do.
Yes. Feelings make horrible leaders.
Yes.
Exactly. And again, they're not good, bad, right, or wrong. Okay. You don't have to feel bad because you have a certain type of feeling. It's just just know it for what it is. That's an emotion. That's a feeling. Again, I can either attach to it and believe it and buy into it and act on it, or I can say, no, I'm not going to do that. I mean, if every time we felt angry and we wanted to kill something or someone and we acted on it, people that do that don't know how to self-regulate, those people are in prison. Okay. So because they're being led by their emotions. And I wanted to comment on that. You just said, we think the best of other people. Yeah. A lot of times, you don't really know what's going on with people. People sitting right next to you, strangers in a restaurant, in a mall, in a church. I mean, you don't, at your job place. A lot of times we only see the outside, what people are showing us.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I had read this story not too long ago about this man who got on a subway with 4 little kids, and the kids were just acting up. They are running around just completely undisciplined, out of control. And this woman walks up to the dad and she says, you need to get your kids under control. And the dad said, I'm so sorry. He goes, we have been in the hospital for the last 3 weeks and their mom just died this morning.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
He goes, so I'm a little out of touch, I think. And the woman immediately backed up and went, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I totally understand.
Yeah.
But she didn't know what he was dealing with or what those little kids were just dealing with. And she had her judgment. You need to be a better dad, discipline your children. You just never know what people are going through. But believing the best, believing there's a reason why they're doing what they're doing.
And you can hold 2 emotions at once, right? Because I think we're talking about happiness here where it's not just a fleeting emotion. Like we're talking about true, grounded happiness, that joy that comes from the Lord. Really that's grounding. But you can be happy and have joy, but also be frustrated in a moment.
Yes.
Or angry at something or sad about something. We can hold both of those emotions.
Yeah, because that's real. That's life.
Yeah.
Up and down,
yes,
back
but
and forth.
But it's how do we ground ourselves in one that we want more of our future to look like than, like you said, ride that roller coaster of emotions that's going to go up and down and up and down. Because if we do really let our day get out of control with my coffee spilled on my shirt, I had a nail in my tire, I was out of gas when I got in the car and I was already running 5 minutes late.
Yeah.
All those things can just add up and all of a sudden you get to noon and your day is destroyed.
Right.
Whereas if you just kind of look at it like, you know what, I'm doing the best I can with the knowledge, the time, the resources that I have, and just keep on keeping on. I'm going to try better tomorrow.
Right, exactly.
And keep that groundedness of happiness.
Yeah. Well, and I think part of it too is not taking everything so personal.
Yeah.
I had shared the story with you earlier that, my husband and I, we've been married 44 years and we've been through everything. Okay. Anybody that's been married any length of time like that, you've been, life is, you've dealt with a lot of things that life has thrown you, a lot of things that you didn't expect or didn't see coming. Anyway, but for the most part, we don't really fight a lot. Like we get along really well. We're very compatible. And so the other day, there was something that I was sharing, and I was just processing, and I was just talking about my feelings. And because if we don't get to express ourselves, we're going to bottle it up and we're going to be resentful. And it's almost like we're betraying ourselves by not venting. A lot of times people don't want to hear what you're feeling, and especially if it has a lot to do with them. So my husband and I are talking, and I just start sharing some things, some feelings and some concerns. And it wasn't even, I wasn't angry, I wasn't mad. I was just saying, going into the future, I'm a little nervous about this. I want to make sure we make these right decisions. And he was listening, and I don't know what I said. Sometimes we don't know what will trigger somebody. And we are not responsible for people's triggers. Triggers are just a clue that something's been undealt with, unaddressed, or unhealed. Okay?
Yeah, that's good.
I said something, and I could see it in him. And I was handing him breakfast, and he was starving. And he all of a sudden, he said, I have no appetite. I'm not hungry. I don't want that. And I was like, uh-oh. And he walked upstairs. And so I went on with my day, and I just thought, do I go talk to him, or do I give him a space? I thought, better just to give him a space. So I went and ran my errands, did my thing, but I was feeling what he was feeling. I'm like, I don't know what I said exactly, but something triggered something in him, and I felt very emotional. I didn't have an appetite because I don't want to hurt him. I mean, that wasn't my intent, of course. And so I went and I kind of went and talked to my daughters and kind of vented a little bit with them about what was going on. They love their dad, and nothing I could ever say or do would make them think differently of him. And so we kind of talked through some things, and my daughters are grown adults, by the way. And then I went back home, and we didn't really talk that day. But the next day, and he sent me some texts that I had to brace myself for, that I had a feeling might come, and then they did come. I didn't respond. I didn't react. I did respond by not responding, but I didn't react. And I thought, he's just venting, and this isn't personal to me. I really knew it wasn't, but I was emotional because I felt for him. The next morning, he comes into the bathroom. We didn't talk the rest of the day. And he said, it was so precious. He said, okay, about yesterday. He goes, I realized that something you said triggered me. And he told me what it was. And he said, I need to be more mature. He goes, I can't respond or react like that. And I just looked at him and I just smiled and I said, I totally get it. I totally understand. It's okay. Yeah. And he said, I'm really sorry. And I said, and I am sorry. And it was just a precious, mature little conversation, and everything was fine. But had I reacted to his response, his reaction, it could have gotten really ugly really fast. But again, that comes from years, from being older and being married a long time and having the discipline to do what I teach and what I have learned. And sometimes it's not easy. Sometimes we want to react. But to keep your relationship healthy, these are some of the habits. And to keep happiness and joy in your relationships, these are just some of the things that we have to do that aren't always easy for us to do. Yeah. And I felt proud of myself that I didn't react. And I felt really proud of him that he owned his stuff. Yeah. And I owned mine. But anyway, I'm getting off. All right. Number 3.
How about who you surround yourself with? Talk to us about our group of friends, our family, who we're associating with.
Because you have to remember that happiness is contagious. So what kind of people are you around? And again, you get to choose this. Happiness is contagious. Like when you hear somebody laugh, and you'll start laughing even when you don't know what they're laughing at, right? Or you hear the laugh of a baby. Oh my gosh, I have a brand new granddaughter. And to hear an infant crack up, it is the most joy-giving sound. You just find yourself laughing. It touches your heart so much. It's so precious. But yeah, who you do have control of who you're around. Now, you might hold a job where you have to be around certain people and you don't have that kind of control. Yeah. Maybe you have to work with certain people. And in that case, if it's a total downer on a regular basis, you might consider changing jobs, or you have people around you that can hold you up outside of work, that speak positive things into your life, that are positive, happy people. That's kind of your backup, because sometimes we can't choose who we work with. And you just have to deal with that.
I think also choosing that you are going to not let that environment infiltrate your happiness, right, and also be the setter of the thermostat in that room. Like determining that when I walk in that room, it's not going to be negative and gossipy and going around this mountain one more time again and just total Debbie Downer. Like when I walk in the room, I'm not giving into that. We are going to speak positive things. We are going to talk about what's going on, what's the future, what's going right. But it does, if you're the only one in that environment, it does take, I think, a lot of energy and a lot of a toll. But there are just some people where you get around them and it's so refreshing. Where you just have the right energy. My daughter and I went to her dance nationals this last year, and we ended up splitting some time with some friends. We were very close because we spent the whole week up there. So we were out to dinner every night, and there was just one mom that I don't particularly see all throughout the year, but going to dinner with her every night, sitting next to her at the dance competitions. I mean, by the 7th day of dance, we were in the corner laughing, giggling the whole time, like, oh, there's our daughters, they're dancing now. Okay, we got to pay attention. And we're just sharing such these moments through the week that I did not know that I had with her, but it just left such a great impression on the week because we had such a bond, and it was happy and joking, and we got each other's sense of humor. Whereas I do have some friends, sometimes you get around them and it's just like, okay, we're going around the same mountain again. We're talking about the same thing over again, and just, trying to keep the conversation moving and keeping the conversation happy.
Well, it sounds like you made a new friend that week.
Yeah, no, it was great. It was a lot of fun. We went to some fun restaurants and did some fun things, and I don't know. I just really enjoy, especially getting older. I do appreciate more when you do have that good energy with somebody. I've met some new ladies on the pickleball court, and I'm sure you could speak to that too.
Yes.
Just getting out there and doing something fun, an activity that you enjoy doing, but doing it with people who are also happy, and just kind of letting the rest of the world go by the wayside.
Well, and I think, and I don't know if it's our age, but my husband and I have talked about recently how our circle seems to be shrinking.
Yeah.
And it's not that there's not people, lots of people around. I mean, we pastor church, we have lots of people around, but we don't want to just spend our time around just anybody. Like I like friendships and relationships that have purpose in them.
Yeah.
That there's a reason why we're going to dinner and we're hanging out, and there is that commonality that we have. And I don't know if it's just because we choose not to hang out with some people. Doesn't mean they're bad people or anything. It's just, I don't know, it just feels like our circle's gotten a little bit smaller as we've gotten older over the years.
Yeah.
And we're okay with it.
Yeah. But I think that
totally okay
I think that is a habit, what you're talking about, of happy people, is they're saying the right yeses, that are going to be purposeful.
Yeah.
And they're also saying the right no's.
Yeah.
They're keeping their boundaries. They're knowing where their energy lies. Because I know for me, when I say too many yeses, and that's so easy for me to just be a yes ma'am and spread myself thin, and then I don't have enough to give of myself or for myself to be happy. And I start getting grumpy and not happy with everybody and just really down on life. And then that's where all of a sudden I find myself just critical of everything, and I've lost that groundedness of happiness.
Right. That's really a good point. Okay, the fourth thing. Okay, so that was surround yourself with people that you want to be around, that are happy people, positive people. So the number 4 is slow down and appreciate life's little pleasures. Basically stop and smell the coffee, right? A lot of times we get in such a rush and so busy that we don't even appreciate just the little good things happening in our lives. My husband came downstairs just this last week, and he said, I'm just feeling so good right now. He goes, all the little things in our life. He goes, I love our relationship. I love where I live. I love, and he just starts naming these things. It was just out of the blue, but he was just having a moment, and then he was speaking it out, like just appreciating just life's little things that are going good. And not that everything is going great, but focusing on the good stuff, looking at the good stuff.
And what does that do for you as a wife and a woman to hear your husband say all that?
I love being married to a happy man. That is for sure. Because if anybody's ever been married to a man who's unhappy for a length of time, that can be miserable. And men could say the same thing. Being married to an unhappy wife can be miserable, because you're connected, you're one. You feel each other's pain, you feel each other's feelings, and you don't want to be brought down. So again, that's where we have to support one another and do our best to bring each other up. Not that they can't have those moments. Everybody needs to have their space and their moment, but it is a really good feeling when you're connected with people who are on the upswing, for sure.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes, and I think mostly women, I'm going to say mostly women, because, and again, maybe it's because we kind of set the thermostat of our home. We kind of rule the roost, Yes, men are in charge, but as far as the home life, the kids, usually the women are more, have their finger on the pulse of the home and kind of set the temperature. And a lot of times we have a tendency to dwell on or focus on the 80% that's not working the 20% that's not working instead of the 80% that is working. And not that you just have to remember that whatever you focus on, whatever you pay attention to, grows. So if you're only going to focus on what's not working, what's wrong, that's going to get bigger. But a lot of times when we focus on what is working, what is right, we don't even notice what's wrong. Okay. And again, you get to choose what you're going to focus on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think that's also important and plays into what you just said about how Steve is verbal. You know, he'll say, I love my life right now. I love you. I love our relationship. La, 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 la.
Yeah.
Christian's really good at that too. I also feel like what it does for me is it does help me shift my focus, you know, because I am home more, you know, I see a few more things on a daily basis that I can focus on that 20%. Like this needs to be changed and this light bulb is out and yada, yada, yada. And we need to buy new tap shoes and all the things. But when he says that, it makes me feel like he sees it. He's got it under control and he's figuring out a way to provide and protect for us. Right. And it just helps me refocus into the trust and believing the best is yet to come and this is all going to work out.
And you know what I think? I think the bottom line or the little bit deeper thing there is it makes you feel safe.
Yeah.
Because
exactly.
I just, listening to you say that, that's what it did with my husband saying that. It makes me feel safe. And for women, that's key. That's one of our most important needs that we have is to feel safe and especially safe with the men that we're in relationship with. So that's a great point.
Absolutely. All right. So that probably all connects to this next tip, number 5, which is expressing gratitude.
Right.
So talk to us about that.
And that is something that, you know, they say like biologically or scientifically, they've done research. Expressing gratitude or even writing down what you're grateful for actually boosts the happy chemicals in your brain, in your body. Isn't that amazing? So that's why it's so important because you hear that over and over and over again. You know, what are you grateful for? Write down 5 things every single day. Express at least 5 things every single day, maybe 10 things, anything you can. And again, looking at all the little tiny things because sometimes we forget that, you know what? I woke up. I have breath. The sun came out today. I have a really great cup of coffee that I can get to. I mean, just the littlest things. We have food in the fridge. Our mortgage is paid. I mean, stuff that we sometimes just take for granted. But actually expressing appreciation and especially for your partner in relationships and for your kids also. Because when you express appreciation and gratitude, it teaches them to express it. So that's something I think is very, very important.
That's so good. What's the Bible verse? Enter the gates with thanksgiving and his courts with praise. So we do affirmations every day when we're on our car drives to activities. And so we've even started to say that, like, enter the dance studio with thanksgiving and enter into your teacher's presence with praise. You know, just like just remembering that we're grateful for every opportunity that we get. We don't take this for granted.
And applying it to everyday life like that. That's so great. It helps them remember that scripture too.
Somebody else was just telling me they just got their children gratitude journals. And I kind of chuckled because I feel like I have like 5 or 6 of them that people have given me over the years. And the first page is always filled out so nicely. And I have all these things that I'm grateful for. And then like by page 4, it's like dwindled down. And I
1 or 2 things.
I haven't written in it again. But they do say, you get like a dopamine hit every time you go back and you revisit that thing that made you happy or you're grateful for. So that's good. All right.
So the 6th thing is serving others. Doing for others not only makes them happy, but it makes you happy. Okay, whenever you do a random act of kindness, you know, it's nice for the person, but it probably does more for you.
They say it does,
did something nice for somebody else, just out of the blue. Yeah, it feels good. We have a person in our church right now that is very sick. And everybody has come together, all her neighbors and all the women in our church, to take her to her doctor's appointments, take them food, and just to, you know, give her a call every now and then just to uplift her spirits. And sometimes, you know, I don't have time. With having a newborn baby that I help watch and having parents that are aged that I have to help. You know, this is another task to take on. But I know that I put it on my calendar because it's serving her and her husband, and I feel great about it afterwards. Even then sometimes I'm like, I don't have time for this, and there's other people that can do it, but it's like, no, I want to take that day. I want to get my day in because it makes me feel good about me. It's kind of selfish, but it makes me feel good about me that I'm doing something to help another person.
Well, it does endear you. Yeah. And I also think it endears you to somebody that you're able to extend and help for. I love when friends ask me to help out, especially like fellow dance moms, you know, like, oh, can you pick so-and-so up and bring her to the dance studio? If you're on your way with lunch, do you mind picking up lunch for my child too?
Yeah.
And I think this is also a point of contention for relationships, because husbands, I feel like, really do want their wives to be happy, and they see the overwhelmedness and the mental load, but the unwillingness to ask for help and to be allowed to be served can be so, I mean, I've seen it happen in our relationship. I've seen it happen in close friends relationships where it's like, how can we get somebody to help you? But yet we don't want to allow that help in, and we're not happy because we're so overwhelmed.
Right.
So
yeah, that's where women have to be willing to receive help. And sometimes men have to rescue women from multitasking and taking on too much.
Yeah.
Sometimes they have to just put their foot down and say, no, you're not going to do that. Or let me help you with that. But I think women, and this will be another podcast, need to learn how to ask for what they need.
Yeah.
You know, because women have a weak relationship to their needs.
Yeah.
Men have a very strong relationship
and
to
not
their
feel
needs.
guilty about it.
Yeah.
Because like you're saying, when you do serve others, you do feel more endeared to them. It's not like, oh, I'm so put out. Like if you have the right heart about serving someone and you're happy about it, then it does bring about a joy to it.
And it's how you show kindness and care and love. Like if that person says, no, I don't want you to come. No, I don't want lunch. No, I don't want your help. That's a disconnect. Pretty soon you just go, okay.
Right.
Like they won't receive it, and they're constantly resisting you.
Yes.
After a while, you're like, this is too much work.
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
I'll give to somebody that wants to receive. And I know, like, even for me and my husband's a gift giver. And probably that's his love language. It's not really mine. Not that I don't like getting gifts. I do. I do. But he likes to buy things for me. And early in our relationship, I would be like, no, we can't afford that. No, I don't need that. No, it's not necessary. No, the kids need this, you know? And then there were times as our kids got older, he'd say, okay, well, you know what? Then I'm going to give it to Taylor or to Courtney. Like he wanted to buy the gift. He wanted to give it to somebody. And then I started going, wait a minute. So my daughter's going to get that? Oh, hold on. She can have it after I've used it. And then it'll be a hand-me-down for her. Yeah. But I started realizing he's going to give to somebody. Yeah. I better learn how to receive it. And he would say, do you feel like you're not worthy? And I'm like, I don't know. Where is that coming from? I had to really look at that. And I think because I grew up very conservatively, very frugally, it was hard for me to receive expensive gifts. And not that I didn't feel worth it or deserving, not that I deserved it, but it wasn't that I didn't value myself. I just didn't want him to spend the money. I really didn't. Yeah. But it was important to him that I have certain things. So I had to learn to receive generously and graciously.
Well, and that's so good. And we've talked about it on so many podcasts about how we do receive. But when you're talking about serving others in that vein, talking more about the love languages and understanding, like, you know, my husband is an acts of service. I have to know that that's how he is serving us and our home and me, and how he's showing us love.
Yes.
So if I can see it, appreciate it, express gratitude for it, there's so much more of a connection.
Absolutely.
One of my daughters is an acts of service, and we were just having the conversation this week because she feels like she's always being asked to do a little bit more than everybody else. But one, she does it the best. She's going to get it done, and she's going to get it done right.
I know which one you're talking about.
But just even framing it for her that was the way she was able to serve our family. That's the way she's able to show the love for all of us, not one of us, all of us. Yeah. And it's just out of her overflow. So she has completely changed dispositions. You know, she's happy. She has found her happiness in that. And like, that's how she's going to express her love, because she's not going to be the touchy-feely super snuggler like one of my other children is. Yeah. And I have another child who's extremely verbal like their father, and that's how they show their love. But as a mom, especially, you know, as parents, we have to learn how to receive that. From my husband, same thing. I've had to learn how to be a generous receiver of his gifts and not just expect him to serve me the way that I want to be served.
Yeah. And, you know, speaking of that, I babysat the children some months ago, and one of my friends said, so how's Lucy doing, the middle child? Yeah. You know, 3 girls, and she's in the middle, and she's opposite personality than the older and the younger. And I said, she's awesome. I go, she owns who she is. When I babysat them, like the older or the younger would say, Nini, can we go do this, or can we have this? And I'd always go, let me talk to the boss, Lucy, because I know Lucy's going to tell me the truth.
Yeah.
And she's very emotionally steady and stable. The other ones are going to push it a little bit. And she'd say, no, we're not allowed to do that. I said, I knew it. And then from then on, everything we did, I'd be like, Lucy, she'd be like, yeah, that's okay. I call her the boss. She is the boss.
Yeah.
Okay.
She is. Okay.
But knowing who your children are and their personality types is so great, because then you raise them in the way they should go.
Yeah.
Not comparing them to the others, or not in the way you want them to go, but according to their gifts. And Lucy is a gift, and she's found her gift.
And when they know that identity, then I feel like we're setting them up for happiness.
Absolutely.
Yep. Okay. Number 7.
Stick to your moral compass. Okay. Crossing moral boundaries in the name of getting ahead or pleasing other people is a surefire path to unhappiness. Okay. And you know why that is? Because every time you betray your own moral boundaries, you're betraying yourself. Yeah. Okay. If you like, you have to think about that. It's going to take its toll on you. You tell that little lie. You take something that doesn't belong to you from a hotel or from the workplace. What happens is it starts to chip away at your self-esteem. Yeah. And a lot of people, I don't think that they think it all the way through, and especially kids, that little by little. I know I had a person in my life at one time, and they were just kind of going crazy as far as their morals. And I remember saying to them one time, have you lost your moral compass? I'm not used to this. This is not behavior that is you. Who is this that I'm talking to? And I know I was kind of calling her out on it, but I wanted to bring her back to center, And a lot of times, it's good to have people in your life, friends in your life that you know care about you enough to call you out sometimes. Yeah. So yes, that's very, very important. You want to, in order to build self-esteem, you do things that are respectable. You do things that are right. That's the bottom line.
Yeah. Yep.
Number 8.
All right. Okay. I like this one.
This is another habit. Give someone a hug. Touch is one of the primary stimuli for reducing stress. Okay, unless you don't like being touched, then it can cause stress. But the human touch actually releases oxytocin in the body. And when I know I've read a 6-second hug or 6-second kiss. I think you thought
9
that
seconds,
was 9
like
seconds.
9 seconds 9 times a day, or
when you hold that hug, it actually does something physiological in your body. Yeah. So we need to be touched. We need the human touch in our lives. So get around people that you're comfortable being touched by and you're comfortable touching. Yeah. All right. And then as we wrap it up, this last one, number 9, is, which I believe this is huge, is get to know your creator. Okay. You can't know what love is and know what joy and know what happiness is if you don't know the person that created all those things. Okay. The Bible says the joy of the Lord is my strength. So if we're going to be strong in joy and happiness, we need to know the one that made joy and happiness and what it's all about. And when you learn who you were designed to be, the personality that God gave you, the purpose he has for you, every single person has a purpose. And even in those of you who are saying, well, I don't know what my purpose is and I'm purposeless. No, you're not. Because if you're alive and you're breathing, you have a purpose. Yeah. You are living, you're in your purpose. What you're doing in your daily life is your purpose. Purpose isn't something way out there that one day I'm going to find my purpose. You're living on purpose right now. You just want to make sure going forward, all your decisions are purposeful and purpose-filled and in alignment with your God-given purpose, which will put you in alignment with God's will for your life. Yeah. Okay? So no matter what happens in life, no matter the storms that you face, whatever you're going through, you need to know and be secure and strong in your identity in Christ. That's the bottom line. Because if you're not secure and strong, and it takes work, it takes studying and good habits and prayer time and reading the Word of God, knowing who you are in God will make you and all your relationships healthier. Because if you're not strong in who you are and who you are in God, every relationship that you try to build an intimate connection with is going to be dysfunctional at best. It really is. And the reason for that is because you'll look at that relationship, at that person, mainly your spouse, to fill certain areas in your life that they might not be able to fill. You'll expect them to be everything to you, to be God to you, to provide you with safety and
to
love
make you
and
happy.
care,
Yeah.
to make you happy. And here's the thing, they're just as weak and imperfect and flawed as you are. So putting all that on another person, all those big expectations to bring you happiness, safety and security, that's putting a lot on a person. But if we know who we are in God, then God is our ultimate protector and provider. We can take some of that burden off of our husbands and off of our friends and our family members. You'll look at them differently when you know who you are. You won't have unrealistic expectations of them, and you'll be able to appreciate what they do bring to the table, what they do bring to your life.
So good. So good. All right. Well, if you enjoyed today's episode, make sure you hit subscribe, push the notification bell so you know when a new one is coming your way. And if this was helpful to you, make sure you share it with friends and family. Danielle is very active over on Instagram, Facebook, all the social media, so make sure you give her a follow.